to find your way into a tall spine. So sitting up so that you can feel your spine stacking as if there was 3 sort of compartments to your spine, the low, the mid, and the upper, that they would stack on top of one another. And of course you can move around a little bit to kind of feel where that placement is for you. So there's weight going down into your hips, down into your sit bones. You don't have to be cross-legged. That's just what works for me. And try to sit up nice and tall, as if you're reaching the top of your head up towards the ceiling, and then there's some distance happening between the shoulders and the ears, so the shoulders can get a little heavy away from the ears. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes or just landing your gaze on something, to start to bring your awareness to your breath. This is creating a little bit of a segue from our morning to our practice, so this can become a little bit more intentional. So there's a little bit more space between all the things that we do, all of our thoughts, to this practice. Let's take a breath in together and a breath out. Keeping your ears heavy away from your shoulders, gently drop your right ear over towards your shoulder. So creating an intentional stretch or lengthening on that left side. And coming back through center and then switching sides. So going left ear to left shoulder, or obviously other side. And then coming back through center and then dropping your chin down towards your chest. So getting a nice lengthening happening on the back of the neck. And then bringing your chin up towards the ceiling. So whenever we work with the neck, it's super, super slow. And then back through center. Okay, coming into a few movements. So we're just going to start by opening up the joints. So drawing circles with the wrists. You can do one at a time if that works better for you. Notice which way you're going and then reverse direction. Well, so, excuse me, you might manually pull the fingers towards you and send them down towards the floor. So again, one or both at the same time. And then opening and closing. I always laugh because I tend to involve my face when I do this. So try not to use your face, but really open the webbing in between your fingers, and we'll bring that up into the shoulders. So you can do one or both shoulder rolls and maybe reversing direction. And finding some length in the side body. Right hand can come beside you, left arm reaches up and comes over to the side. So I was thinking about, doing a full practice today, but really concentrating on the length in the side body and being able to breathe. Come back through center and then take the other side. Maybe an inhale up and an exhale over. So allow that opposite hip to be heavy as you lift and lengthen, almost turning your heart space up to the sky, maybe your gaze, and come on back through center. So we're going to do that side body lengthening using the breath in the arms. So we're going to inhale the arms up to center. And as we exhale, turn over to the right and let one arm land in front and one behind. With breath, inhale back through center. And then to the left. And then center, get tall. Your gaze might go up and to the right. And then center and to the left. Come back through center. Here we're going to bring the arms down in front. Keep your seat, your sit bones attached to the earth, and start to walk your fingers forward as far as you can. So once you feel your seat starting to lift, you can even use your hands and your arms to kind of push you back in the direction of your bum, and maybe hang your head. So we want to get a nice long length through the whole back and side body. Take a big breath in here. Let your knees be heavy in your face. Soft. One more breath here. Come back through center. Come up about halfway and go over to the right. So ideally getting some space through that low back side area. Just walking as far right as your body is allowing this morning. And taking a breath. I don't know about you, but sometimes in the morning my body is so stiff. It just, all I can think about is like cold plasticine. Okay, come back through center. Again, we're just about halfway, and then go over to the left. So just noticing where you are. We're not forcing, it's just, we're kind of checking it out. Like it's a question. We're just asking the body what's available, what we can work with here right now this morning. One more breath. And then coming back through center. Bring the hands behind you. So planting your hands behind you, might be on fingertips or on palms, and start to arc your chest forward. So creating that sort of cow shape when we arc the back, heart forward, almost sticking your hips back, head can drop back. And if it works for you, you might lift the chest so much that the bum starts to come with you. So now you're on your knees and you're arcing your whole front body up, and the head might drop back. Take a breath. And then come on back to your seat. Let's release the legs out in front. So we're going to bring the weight forward onto the sit bones. And same thing that we did with the wrists. So we're going to circle the feet. And of course you can do one or both at a time, whatever works better for you. Reverse directions of your circles. And then point and flex. Often in the mornings there's sounds that come out of these joints. Same thing with the toes, spreading the toes. And the sounds are okay. It's usually, equivalent to dehydration. That's why we hear it mostly in the morning, because we don't usually drink too much water when we're sleeping. Bending your legs, planting your feet about hip distance apart, nice and wide. And again, we're going to come back to the weight in the arms. So you can kind of lean back behind you. And then start to windshield wiper your knees side to side. So the knees might land on the floor, they might not, that's okay. We're just trying to get some movement happening up into the hip. Okay, you can make these movements bigger if you want to bring that hip with you. Okay, and you might even bring your arm with you. If you're ready to start moving, again, we're being really mindful in our movement, so nothing's fast. You might even cause a reach. So reaching and bringing that hip up. So there's a lot of length in that side body. This is coordinated with your breath. So you might be going a little bit faster or a little bit slower than me, and that's okay. And then we're gonna, if you are reaching, we're gonna bring it back down onto the hips and then back to just the knees going side to side. Okay, making our way up to tabletop, so onto your hands and knees. And here we have approximately knees underneath of the hips. And I'm just going to move back here so you can see me. And then wrists underneath of the shoulders. So finding a nice long table, that's from the back of your head all the way down to your spine, and a little bit of support from that low belly. I'm going to draw circles with our arms, so trying to create some mobility in space, really consciously in the shoulder. I'm going to reach the right arm forward, up towards the sky, back down behind, and to the starting point. So a giant circle. We'll do this 2 more times in this direction. And then we're going to reverse direction. So once we get back to that starting point, the right arm will reach back up towards the sky, forward and down. So for a total of 3 times, your gaze can come with your hand, or it might just stay down on the mat. Okay, back to tabletop. We're going to take that on the other side, left arm forward. Draw that big circle and come back to your starting point. So your circle is your biggest circle, right? It might be, if you're working with some shoulder stuff, that your circles are small, or maybe your arm is bent, and that's all really fine. Reverse direction. Arm goes back, up, and forward for our total of 3 times. And then back to our tabletop. We're going to do the same thing with our hips. So we're going to take that right knee established from our table. It's going to come forward, out and open, back behind, and then back through center. So we're going to do this 3 times, this giant circle, envisioning that you can draw that with your knee. And then once we've done that 3 times, reverse direction. So the right knee will reach up, open out to the side, down through center. And this for me is like, I don't know, maybe it's my mattress. My hips are really quite cranky in the morning. So we'll switch sides. That left knee will come forward, out, open and back. And again, doing this 3 times in this direction. Please ensure that you're breathing and you're just moving to what works for you this morning. Reverse direction 3 times. And then last time. Okay, we're going to take it off the wrist into child's pose. So you can have your knees together or apart. Untuck your toes if that works for you. Arms might reach forward, they might reach back. And if you really want to give some space, palms might turn up towards the sky. And then drop your forehead down to the floor. And give the back of the neck a little bit of space. Soften the jaw. And in your child's pose, let there be some weight into the hips. Okay, we're going to walk it over to the right. So the hips stay where they are. The arms reach over to the right. Again, visiting that lateral length. So probably a little more on the left side. Walk the hands as far forward again. Letting the head be heavy. I'm just having my head up for my volume of my voice. And maybe that left hand comes over to stack on the right. Let's take one more breath here. And then come on back through center. Notice center. And then walk your child's pose over to the left. So finding adequate space in that right side for what works for you. Heavy head. And maybe that right hand goes to stack on top of the left. Bring the weight into the hips, especially that right hip. And breathe into the side body. One more breath. And then let's come back through center. Into tabletop. So we're going to do a few of these gentle dynamic movements coming through our tabletop and our child's pose with breath. So in your tabletop, you can have your toes tucked or untucked. That's your choice. We're going to take a breath in tabletop. And then exhale to child's pose. Inhale back to tabletop. Exhale, child's pose. Do that one more time, tabletop and child's pose. This time, coming back up to tabletop, we're going to tuck the toes and come into a downward facing dog. So we're adding this on to, just realized my head, you can't see me. We're going to add this on to our little flow, our downward facing dog through tabletop, through child's pose. So take a breath in here. I'm going to tuck your toes. And then as you exhale, push up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale to tabletop. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, downward facing dog. Again, tabletop. And child's pose. One more time, tabletop. And then downward facing dog. This time stay in your downward facing dog or tabletop, if that's preferable for you. If you're in downward facing dog, maybe a few moments to pedal the heels. So that's bending a knee or trying to lengthen a heel back behind you. Navel's pulling in and up. You're almost pushing the floor away as the arms are strong. We're going to look forward, soften the knees. They might even come down to the floor for your transition to walk your feet up towards your hands. Coming into a rag doll, a forward fold here. You can have your feet apart. Hip distance might be nice. Opposite elbows if that works for you. Hands to, shins. You can always have your elbows on your thighs like a football stance. Take what works for you, for your spine. Let's stay for one more breath here. And then slowly coming up to a standing position. Some people roll up. You can always use support of your legs and your core. And coming up to a standing position, if you have a mat, up to the top of your mat or your space. So find yourself in this standing mountain pose. We want to be really solid, rooted down through the feet, but with a little bit of give through the body, right? It's not like we're trying to hold like a statue. We have to allow little absorbencies of movement to stay standing. Take a breath in and a breath out. And bring your hands together in front of your heart, Anjali Mudra, so your thumbs are touching your heart, and maybe you bow your chin down towards your chest a little bit. And you know, if something brought you to your mat this morning, to your practice, an intention, a word, bring that to mind. And if there's something that you would like, you know, a little more of in your life, anything positive, bring that to mind. We're going to take an inhale, arms sweep out to the sides and up, look up, and then bring that in, bring your palms together, bring it down into your heart, your word, your intention, your purpose. Again, inhale, reach up, gather. Exhale, bring it in. Do that one more time with intention, with purpose, and then down into your heart. Take a moment here, acknowledge. And we're going to take a few sun breaths. So this is really mindful movement, nothing crazy. It's like half of a sun salutation. So from here, again, we're going to reach up. You might look up. That's a breath in. And then exhale to hinge and fold forward. Create a long spine as the breath comes out. Take your halfway lift again. So long spine, you might prop on your shins. And then exhale, fold. And again, soften the knees, reach all the way up. And then hands back to heart. So that was one sun breath. We're going to do that 2 more times. Find the firmness, the planting of your feet. Bring that up your legs. Inhale to reach up. Extended mountain. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale to your halfway lift. Bring the shoulders onto the back. Exhale, fold. Protecting your spine. Inhale, reach up. Maybe softening the knees, using the glutes, the legs, and hands to heart. So one more sun breath. Inhale up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And again, fold. Reaching all the way up. And then hands to heart. You're going to come into a standing side body lengthener. So you can either keep your feet planted where they are, either hip distance or toes touching, heels slightly apart, or we'll be moving the legs to create a little bit more space in the side. So we're going to start by inhaling the arms up overhead, taking that left wrist with the right hand, start tipping over to the left side. So you can stay here. You might all of a sudden decide you want a little bit wider of a stance, push down into the outside of that left foot, or gonna swish that left foot in behind the right, bend the right knee, and create a little bit of a, we'll come this way so you can see me, a little bit more of a side body lengthener. So this is called Krishna pose. You're gonna bend your front knee and really tip over. Both feet are rooted. Take one more breath. And then come on back up. Release your hands, and we'll do that on the other side. So finding your foot placement, maybe hip distance, inhale up, taking that right wrist, going over to the left, and if you're adding the leg, right goes in behind left, left leg bends, and we get a nice big opening. See if you can start to arc your heart up, maybe your gaze up. Take a big breath in, so we don't want to hold the breath, we want it to be able to move. Inhale. And then back through center. Clasping your hands behind you if that works for you. You can also use a strap or maybe take your forearms. Feet come about hip distance apart. So we're going to come into a forward fold here, softening the knees. If your hands are clasped, trying to push the palms towards one another, interlace the fingers, open the chest. So we're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together, start to pull the palms away from the body, and then hinge forward. So bend your knees and let the arms start to come away from the body. So we're creating a shoulder rinse here. Knees are soft, head is heavy, and we're not forcing, we're exploring, we're experimenting. See if you can connect your exhale to the movement of your hands away from your body. So the thing is, the arms will only go as far as the arms can go. We just want to create a little more softness, a little ease. So they might be invited to come a little further. Take one more breath here. And then release your hands to the floor. You're going to step back to tabletop position. So bringing your knees back down to the earth into your tabletop. And we are going to lengthen the tabletop a little bit. So maybe walking the knees back slightly. So it's a little more invite for the core to pitch in. And explore lengthening your right leg back behind you. So tucking your toes, kind of pushing into that heel, and then reaching your heart forward. Okay, from here, we're going to bring that right knee back down and do that on the left side. Left leg lengthens behind you. Push into your heel. Feel that ignite the core, and then back down. I'm going to do that with the right leg again. Tuck the toes. If it's there for you today, you might also join that with the left. So we're in a core plank, and then the right knee comes back down, and the left knee comes back down. One more time. So heart goes really far forward, core is in, left leg lengthens back, tucking the toes. You may join that with the right, and we'll bring the left knee down and the right knee down. Taking a moment, bring your knees together, your toes together, and come into Seiza, a little foot stretch. So we want to tuck all the toes onto the floor. You can stay here. Hands on the floor, hands on thighs, or the full pose brings the weight of the upper body down into the feet. So really nice for plantar fasciitis, or if your feet are feeling a little sort of still in winter mode. Let's take 2 more breaths. See if you can include your core and soften your face at the same time. And then we'll come back to tabletop. So hands plant, knees come back underneath of the hips. Here, lengthening the right leg back behind you again. Keep your toes on the floor, and we're going to swish that right leg over to the left. Okay, now looking past your left shoulder towards that foot, past your hip, and create a nice bowed open shape on the right side, feeling a compression on the left. Take one more breath here. And then come back through center and tabletop. Okay, second side, left leg goes back behind you. Find the length of the leg first. So push into the heel, feel the quad and the core, and then swish that over to the right, and then looking back past your hip towards your foot. It doesn't matter if you can see your foot, but we're really trying to stimulate the opening on the side body here. One more breath, arms are strong, and then back through center, tabletop. Take a few cat-cow tilts. So from your tabletop, undulating the spine by moving it up and down, or maybe back and forth, whatever feels okay for you. Usually it's an inhale to lengthen and cow pose, so the belly goes towards the floor as either end curls up, and then exhale, cat, mid-spine to sky, and rounding either end underneath. Inhale to lengthen, and lift, and then exhale to round and compress. One more each way. And curl. And again, tabletop, lengthening that table a little bit, so increasing the space between the hands and the knees. We're going to step the right foot forward up towards your right hand. So finding your way into a low lunge here. A long spine, so it's the hips might go forward towards the floor, and the heart space reach up. And then you can stay here if this works for you, or maybe hands can come up onto this front thigh as you start to lengthen. So we want to avoid bending at that low back, but rather lifting up. Staying here, you can always fold over your mat if you want a little cushioning, or maybe you have a towel or something for underneath your knee. Think about getting really long in the torso and allowing the shoulders to go back. So we want to be lifting. Okay, stay here. Right hand can stay on the thigh if it works for you. The left arm might reach up. It's a lift up, so we're not pressuring down into that bottom knee. We're more using that front leg. And if it's there, a gentle explore over to the right. If you wanted to add here a little bit more of a twist where that right hand might reach behind you and start to slide down the left leg as you turn towards the right, maybe increasing the space into the twist. Let's breathe here. One more. And then gently and slowly coming back through center. Keep the length in that left side as you come forward and hand comes down to the floor. Straightening your front leg, so that's Ardha Hanumanasana, which is a half split. Pull the hips back. See if you can sort of pull them back up high as opposed to sitting towards the heels, but rather reaching, so we can get this length in the front leg into the hamstrings and pull those toes up towards you. Okay, you can stay here. Again, if you wanted to add a twist, that would be towards the right. Twisting the torso, hand might come to thigh back or even extend up. Please breathe. Twisting, and then one more breath. Okay, slowly back through center. I'm going to bend that front leg, and we'll be joining the right leg to the left. So planting your hands, stepping back. You might take a moment in your long table. You can even look at, because we have our long table, coming forward to this tabletop plank and maybe dipping the hips down towards the earth as you lift your heart up high. Reaching the hips back towards the heels. So this is optional. You can also be in a child's pose or just hang out in table. Maybe do this one or two more times if it feels good. I find my back needs a little bit of space sometimes, so this gentle dynamic movement might feel okay for you. And then we'll be revisiting our tabletop, perhaps lengthening it a little bit, and then stepping that left leg forward. So we're taking this lunge on the other side. Find a long spine. So all of what we do, we want to be protecting our spine, especially the low back when we do these types of movements. So there's some capacity happening in the hips and the glutes, and of course the low belly. So acknowledge if it feels best for you to stay here. This is a great place to be pushing into that front foot, or perhaps coming up works for you on this side. So lifting in and up with that low belly, maybe including that back glute to find an upright position. Supporting on that left leg, option to extend the right arm up. So it's a reach up right from the knee through the hip to the hand, and perhaps exploring over towards the left side. Steady as she goes. So if it's not steady, we don't keep going. If you want to add the lengthening of that left arm down the back leg, and maybe invite a little bit more of a twist if it's okay for your spine. This is all done with the fact that you can breathe and you're not putting yourself in a place of strain or stress. Take one more breath. And then a slow unwind. Keep the length on that right side as you come forward and the hand comes down. Be lengthening that left leg. So again, Ardha Hanumanasana, half splits by reaching the hips back and lengthening that left leg. Taking a moment, flexing the toes up towards you, trying to lengthen your spine. So there may be a few different variations of rounding, but here today, see if you can lengthen the spine, shoulders on the back. And then come on back through center, plant your hands to be supportive, and have that left leg go back and meet the right. So taking a moment and what would feel good for you. That could be cat-cow tilts, tabletop, or child's pose. So I'll take a big breath in and then out. Moving a little deeper into the hips. Again, we're going to step that right foot forward. This is just a different way to get into pigeon pose. So if you would prefer from a downward facing dog, that's totally fine. We're going to heel toe that foot across the mat and bring the right knee down to the mat. Okay, here we take the time to lengthen that left leg back as far as works for you today. And you might have a support underneath of your hip if that works for you. Flexing the right foot is a great way to protect the right knee. And then perhaps sleeping pigeon is on the menu today, bringing it off the wrists and coming forward. Again, you might have supports there to bring your forearms down to the earth. If it's in your practice, you can also bring your forehead down, maybe stacking your forehead on your hands and finding your breath. So we start to settle in here as opposed to this kind of countdown to get out. Can we be here in a place that we've only come so far that it's okay in our body? Let's take 2 to 3 more breaths. And 1 more, whatever your breathing pattern is. Okay, coming back up onto your hands. We're going to roll out onto that right hip and swing the left leg forward. So I'll just swing around so you can see me. Have the left leg forward, the right leg is still bent from our pigeon pose, and the sole of that foot anywhere along the extended left leg. Keeping both of your sit bones, your bum bones down onto the earth, we're going to turn towards the bent knee and extend the left arm down the left leg. So if it's available, you can take your toe or your shin or your foot, and we're going to open up this right side. So think lengthening as we reach up and then directing over. So this top arm is optional. Some people like to bend in behind to support the head or even in behind the back. If it works for you, some people might reach all the way over to the foot. Try to turn your heart up. Keep that left leg active and the right leg soft. Take 1 more breath here. And then come back through center. Plant your right hand behind you, maybe also your left hand behind you, and arc the chest again forward. Option for a modified wild thing here, which is bringing weight into that right hand and then lifting the hips up. So we're going to push into the knee and the heel and create this nice opening, again, the front and the side body. Just take a breath and then come back down to your seat. And we'll come back into tabletop. So before the other side, again, you can do some cat-cow tilts, or maybe you hang out in child's pose for a moment. It may feel nice to sway the hips side to side. And then when you're ready, we'll step that left foot forward, or again, you can come from child's pose and we'll walk it across the mat, this sort of heel-toe, technical yoga term, and come into pigeon. So finding, it might tuck in closer to the body, finding the knee supported down and taking the time to lengthen the back leg back, right? That brings it out of the front knee and more into the hips. So we're just checking out, usually hips, usually is different on one side than the other in our bodies, and this is a great way to Notice that. So just check in as if it's a brand new pose. It's not the same as the first side. And maybe coming down off of the wrists into a variation that works for you here. That's sustainable for you for a few breaths. Softening your jaw, softening your shoulders, softening your hands, and sometimes even an intentional softening of your face and your hip, right? Sometimes when we come into a hip opener, the body starts to resist and clench away from the shape. See if you can really just land here for the next 2 or 3 breaths. Let's take one more breath in and out. And coming back up onto your hands, your arms. Roll out onto that left hip and then bring your right leg forward. Again, I'm just going to turn sideways here so you can see me. So we have the right leg extended, the left leg bent and soft. Sit bones are both down equally, so we have this sort of grounding, rooted, turning towards the left knee, and then wake up that right leg, flex the toes up towards you, and then supporting that right leg. So, you know, depending on your anatomy, the toes might want to roll in or out, and we're going to use that as leverage to open the chest. Left arm can reach up and maybe over with your choice towards that right side. Direct the breath to where you need it. 2 more. Right knee, or left knee is soft, right leg is awake. 1 more breath. And then with control, back through center to where we started. Hand or hands come behind for either that opening of the front body or the modified wild thing, picking the hips up and taking a nice big arc open. Breath in. And then breath out. Hips come down to the floor. Come into butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. So the soles of the feet come together, finding a tall spine. And there might be some movement. So you can definitely move your knees here. Finding a tall spine, softening the shoulders. Take a breath in and then out. Okay, we're going to tuck that left heel in towards your seat so that the right sole of the foot can come on the floor. So it's either on the front of the shin or on the thigh side. We're setting up for a seated twist. So please ensure that both of your hips, your sit bones, are down. Twisting towards the front thigh, you can always twist away. So if you need a little bit more space for your abdomen, that's fine. A twist is a twist as long as it's done carefully and mindfully. So we want to find a tall, long spine to inhale and reach up. Exhale into your twist. And again, lengthen. You might use that arm as leverage. Exhale into the twist. And do that one more time. Twist. Coming back through center. Perhaps a gentle counter twist the other way. And then, oh, my back made a little sound. And then we're going to switch up the legs. So the right leg can be down on the bottom. Underneath, left leg in front, or perhaps crossed over. And you can always move your bottom leg, right, to get that both sit bones down action. Finding the direction of your twist, I'm twisting towards my front thigh. Gonna inhale to lengthen and exhale, start the twist. So when I say start, it's, you know, as if it's starting down in the low abdomen and we're sort of climbing a ladder up. So we're not cranking with the head and the shoulders right away because they're so strong. We want to involve the low belly and the torso and engage that sort of rinse for the whole spine. Breath in, twist, And then one more time here, exhaling into the twist and coming back through center. Again, release. Legs might unwind and lengthen out in front, or you can take some windshield wipers. So we're going to set up for just the last few minutes in a seated meditation. So if you want to sit on something, being a block, a pillow, a chair, I welcome you to bring that into your space. Same as how we started the practice, making your way into a nice tall spine, landing the gaze or closing your eyes. So this is a great way to help sort of tune inward. And I think sometimes the word meditation can be a little bit, it's a big word, you know, and for a lot of us it can be scary. It's like something really special is supposed to happen. You know, you close your eyes and you have this big euphoric experience, and that's actually not the case at all. It's just coming a little bit more mindful of yourself. So if we take the time to kind of close out these external stimulants, light, sound, even smell. Take a moment to go inside and check out what's happening in there. Can you feel your heartbeat? Can you tune into the vibrancy that's happening underneath of your skin? And the movement of the blood through your body, your cells that you've helped create some space for them to move. You can have either hands down on your knees, on your lap. It's a great way to conserve your own energy. Your palms might be facing up. You are open to receiving positive energy. And take a moment, see if you can commit to this space. So take away the urge to fidget and fix and look around and see what's happening, and really just sit with yourself for a minute. And this is a practice of so many things, words like patience and commitment, dedication, presence. And a great way to help anchor yourself to this moment is with your breath. See if you can start to smooth it out and follow your breath all the way to the top of the inhale. Stay with the breath to the bottom of the exhale. And do that again, a full breath in, there's no rush. And a full breath out. Inhale. Exhale. Let's take 3 more long and smooth and slow breath here together. Soft face. Tall spine. One more breath. And bring your hands together in front of your heart space, still with a long spine, and maybe a gentle bowing down towards your fingertips, towards yourself. And that word or intention or whatever it was that may have brought you to your mat this morning, you can take a moment again to acknowledge that. See how that is for you. And thank you for taking care of yourself, for sharing in this practice today. Namaste. And my mantra for 2020 has become fingers crossed. So if I did this right, fingers crossed, we can save it, and then it'll be available, I think, for the next little bit. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks.